All right, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Senate Committee on Education. Thank you for your patience as we settled in and whatnot. I'm Senator Angie Taylor, and I have the honor of leading us through our meeting today. So we welcome you here, and we see some people in Carson City, and there may even be some people on the phone line. So we'll start at the top, at the beginning, with our roll call, Madam Secretary.
Senator Buck. Senator Cruz Crawford. Senator Doñate. Senator Dondero Loop. Senator Rogich. Senator Titus. Chair Taylor.
And I am present. Thank you very much. We have everyone here. That means we have a quorum. We do have legal counsel, just for the record, who was watching us. Our regular legal counsel was out this week, but we have Mr. Asher Killerman, who's watching. So if we have legal questions, then we'll be able to contact him and get those resolved as well. Today on the agenda, you already know this, but I'll go over it anyway. We have two bill hearings that we're going to do. Assembly Bill 383, which establishes provisions relating to programs of high-impact tutoring, and then Assembly Bill 426 revises provisions relating to the organization of large school districts. We also have a work session before us, and we have three bills that we will entertain on work session. Just a little bit of housekeeping just to make sure we go over it again. Please silence your electronic devices. We'd appreciate that. If you plan to speak, please make sure that you sign in over at the table. And if you have a business card, leave that with our staff. When you speak, make sure you turn on the microphone. And then when you're finished, turn it off. Turn it off, and then when you speak, make sure you say your name for the record. Yes, you have to say your name each time you speak, but you only have to spell your last name the first time. And if you forget that, which many of us do often, then we'll just remind you as we go through that. And then also you'll see that committee members have our laptops in front of us. Please don't take that as a sign of disrespect or inattention. We have exhibits and so on in front of us that we refer to often. And so we are right there with you. No reason to be concerned. So we will start with our work session while we have everyone here and no one has to run off for a hearing. We'll start with Assembly Bill 205, and I'll turn it over to our policy analyst, Ms. Sturm Gaynor.
Thank you, Chair Taylor. Jen Sturm Gaynor, Committee Policy Analyst with the Research Division. Again, as nonpartisan staff, we do not advocate for or against any measure. The first bill in front of the committee today is Assembly Bill 205, which is sponsored by Assemblymember Goulding and was heard on May 5th. The bill revises provisions governing the written notice that a school district must provide to a parent or guardian of a pupil offered instruction in sexual education, and changing the notice from a form of consent to a form of refusal for the pupil's participation. The bill also allows parents or guardians to refuse authorization at any point in the school year in which the course is offered. And at this time, there are no proposed amendments. Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sturm Gaynor. Is there any discussion or questions for staff while we're here? Senator Buck? Oh, no, you're leaning. No, it's okay, not yet. Okay, hold on. I promise we'll get back. I promise. Happy Mother's Day. All right, I will entertain the motion for the pleasure of the committee.
So moved.
This is a motion to do pass, as there's no amendments. I have a motion from Vice Chair Dondero Loop. Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay. Okay.
Second from.
Okay, thank you very much. We're a little slow this Monday, clearly, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, we have a motion to pass from our Vice Chair Dondero Loop, and a second from Senator Cruz Crawford. Now we will have discussion or questions, and I will go right to you, Senator Buck.
Thank you, Chair Taylor. Sorry, I jumped the gun there a little bit. Today I will be a no because in the testimony, 93 to 98% of students already participate, yet there was a correlation that disease rates have increased and teen pregnancies have increased. So I will be a no today.
Thank you, Senator Buck. Any other questions or discussion? Senator Titus?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate an opportunity just to say something. I'm also going to be a no. I think that, again, the parents have that right, and we shouldn't be taking that away, and that's essentially what this bill does. It was vetoed in 2017. It was died in 2019, 21, and 2023, and yet again we're trying to put the state's views over parental views, and so I am still a no, going to be a no, and will be a no.
Thank you, Senator Titus. Other questions or discussion? Seeing none, we will vote. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We have opposition from Senator Titus and Senator Buck. Oh, I'm sorry. You're leaning back. I didn't see you down there. Senator Rogich. So we have 3 nays and 4 yeas, so the bill does pass, and I will assign the floor statement to Senator Cruz Crawford. Okay. Thank you very much, and we will continue. Ms. Sturm Gaynor?
Jen Sturm Gaynor, Research Division of LCB. The next bill is Assembly Bill 236, which was presented by Assemblymember De Silva on April 23rd. The bill revises the appointment process for teachers and other school officials to certain boards and councils to require the governor to select appointees from a list of candidates provided by specified employee organizations. At this time, there are no proposed amendments.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sturm Gaynor. Any questions or discussion for staff? Seeing none, I will entertain the motion. There are no amendments for this measure either, so the motion would be to do pass.
Do pass.
Thank you very much by the Vice Chair. Is there a second? Second from Senator Danyante. Any questions or discussion on the motion, committee members? Seeing none, all those in favor to do pass Assembly Bill 236, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there opposition? Nay. Okay, let the record show there's one opposed, Senator Titus, and the bill does pass. And we will assign, give that a do pass. We'll assign that floor statement to the Vice Chair. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Please continue, Ms. Sturm Gaynor.
Thank you, Chair. Jen Sturm Gaynor, Committee Policy Analyst. The final bill on work session today is Assembly Bill 454, which was presented by Assemblymember Nadeem on May 2nd. The bill revises provisions relating to emergency response plans and CPR certification requirements for certain educational personnel at public and private high schools. The bill provides for emergency response plans in public and private high schools, which address heart-related emergencies to be developed in consultation with certain medical professionals. There are 4 proposed amendments by the sponsor. The first is to clarify certain training requirements only apply to coaches, managers, or athletic trainers who are not pupils. 2, remove references to club in certain sections. 3, replace references to a physician or other medical professional with a provider of healthcare, and define the term, for purposes of the bill, to individuals with specific skills, experience, and training in responding to a medical emergency involving the heart. And lastly, the final amendment is to apply provisions contained in Section 1.5 to include charter schools, and there's additional details attached to that work session document.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sturm Gaynor. Any questions or discussion for staff? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor from Vice Chair Dondero Loop. Is there a second? Second from Senator Cruz Crawford. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there opposition? The motion carries. Let the record show it is unanimous, and I will sign the floor statement to Senator Danyante. Thank you so much, Ms. Sturm Gaynor. Thanks for those who came for a work session in case there were questions. We appreciate it. And now we will go on to our bill hearings, and we will go in order of the agenda. We will start with, we will officially open the bill hearing for Assembly Bill 383, establishes provisions related to programs of high-impact tutoring. And I see the Assembly member coming forward and other co-presenters. I won't see anyone coming forward in Vegas, but please settle in to both of you and get started when you are ready. Welcome, Assembly member.
Thank you, Chair Taylor and Vice Chair Dondero Loop and members of the Senate Education Committee. It's lovely to be here. I'm Alexis Hansen, that's Alexishansen, and I represent Assembly District 32. I'm joined today here at the table by Spencer Flanders with try saying that 3 times fast. Try Strategies to present this bipartisan sponsored Assembly Bill 383, which establishes provisions relating to programs of high impact tutoring, and in which I'm happy to report passed through the Assembly House with unanimous support. I will begin with some background information. Assembly Bill 383 is rooted in a growing consensus around the most effective strategies and interventions to address the post-COVID learning recovery, which has been fairly elusive. But there is widespread agreement that high-impact tutoring holds tremendous promise. A wealth of research from Stanford Student Support Accelerator and Johns Hopkins University have underscored the positive effects of structured, individualized tutoring on student performance, particularly in core academic subjects such as math, reading, and science. The National Education Association and Stanford Support Accelerator, they've teamed up to help educators advocate for high-impact tutoring programs in their districts. Where it has been properly implemented, high-impact tutoring produces large learning gains for a wide range of students, particularly those who have fallen behind academically. That conclusion of an increasing number of researchers, school leaders, classroom teachers who have seen the practice in action. High-impact tutoring has been shown to be 20 times more effective than standard tutoring models for math and 15 times more effective for reading. Studies demonstrate that the practice increases students' learning by an additional 3 to 15 months across grade levels. When school districts seek to make a choice in vendors, and that's what this bill's about, when they're seeking, they're not being, it's not mandatory, but when a district is seeking to look for a vendor in tutoring, it only makes sense to rely on tried and true practices referenced here as high-impact tutoring standards. This bill aims to give guidance to districts on what those standards are and to see how those vendors measure up. Several states are actively implementing or exploring high-impact tutoring initiatives, including Oregon, Tennessee, Florida, California, Colorado, Louisiana, and others. And if it would be okay with the chair, I'd like to turn the time over to my co-presenter, Spencer Flanders with Tri Strategies. He will go through the bill, but he has some opening remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Taylor and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Spencer Flanders, and I am with Tri Strategies. I'm excited to be presenting Assembly Bill 383, which focuses directly on high-impact tutoring. Before diving into this bill, I want to share my personal story and why this bill matters so much to me. I grew up with severe learning disabilities, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and ADHD. They were so significant that in elementary school, my principal told my parents there was no way I was going to graduate from high school. Thankfully, my parents never gave up on me, and they advocated for me, and they got me a tutor, and that decision changed my entire life. When I first started tutoring, I was reading at a first grade level, barely able to get through an Amelia Bedelia book. After about 1 year with working with my tutor, I jumped 7 grade levels and was able to read books such as Harry Potter. Go Gryffindors! It was a massive improvement in a short period of time. But we have to ask ourselves, what made this tutor so effective? She worked with me one-on-one in small groups and understood how I learned. She met with me consistently. Her methods were structured and tailored to my needs. And she used consistent and frequent data-driven learning techniques. Her impact is what we should strive for here in the state of Nevada. That kind of high-impact tutoring changed my life. But unfortunately, many students today aren't getting that same experience. So we're here today to kind of talk a little more about this issue. There is many large vendors in the state who, there are many large vendors who contract with school districts and charter schools and are offering tutoring services without personalized curriculum. Students often don't work with the same tutor consistently, which means they're lacking the personalization of skills for their learning styles. We have to ensure that these vendors are using their methods correctly and are qualified for the job. We're excited to bring Assembly Bill 383 because it aims to change that by setting clear requirements for high-impact tutoring. By following the recommendations of the Stanford National Student Support Accelerator, which requires the following: regular weekly tutoring sessions, small group sizes with the same tutor each time, trained and qualified tutors, learning materials that are proven to work, clear rules for choosing which students get help, progress updates that are shared with families and schools, and strong rules to keep students informed and safe. Chair, with that, I'd like to walk through the bill and actually give you the contents of it. Thank you. In Section 1, we see the State Board of Education may adopt regulations establishing the criteria that school districts and charter schools must use if they contract with a vendor that provides a high-impact tutoring. Please emphasize the may. Section 1.1 starts putting down the criteria. 1.1, tutoring programs must offer students at least 3 sessions per week, each session lasting 30 minutes over a set number of weeks. 1.2, programs must have clear rules for deciding which students are qualified for tutoring. Section 1.3, tutoring must be done in small groups, no more than 4 students, with consistent tutoring and regular progress checks. Section 1.4, tutors must meet clear qualifications and receive training. 1.5, the material used in tutoring must be accessible, research-based, challenging, and match student curriculum. 1.6, programs must track how students are doing and report progress to teachers, principals, parents, and guardians. Section 1.7, student information must be kept safe. And then finally, lastly, in Section 2, this would be enacted on July 1st, 2026, if passed through. Thank you. Chair, with that is our, 26, my bad. Chair, with that, I believe we're open for questions, with permission.
Thank you, Mr. Flanders. I'll turn to the committee for questions. Senator Titus?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson, for always being passionate about education. Is there anything, my question really is about that very first section, and that State Board may. Is there anything that prohibits the State Board from doing this now, and why do we need to have legislation?
Alexis Hanson for the record. Thank you, Senator Titus. Well, they could, but the thing that's important about this legislation is it outlines what those standards are. So an issue that we have seen, and really what was at the genesis of this, is there have been vendors in the state where districts have spent considerable amounts of taxpayer dollars. The good news is with this adoption, where a State Board of Education, we kind of spell out here are standards that we know have proven results. If you adopt these, then a district kind of has the work done for them in the sense that the vetting has been done. And there are currently about 24 vendors in the United States where these programs fit that criteria that would be kind of laid out in this way. So because we've seen some vendors their materials not perform to the degree that districts would have liked, this gives us some assurances that when we are going to spend taxpayer dollars on vendors, that they at least are hitting these high-impact tutoring standards and have that reassurance that they're going to provide the students the best possible model that's out there.
Thank you for that follow-up, if I might. So not to belabor the point, but again, can't the State Board adopt regulations on their own without legislative authority?
Alexis Hanson for the record. Senator Titus, yes, I'm sure they could. I serve on the Legislative Commission, but we've not seen those. Okay. So perhaps a little encouragement of, hey, we've done the work here, and maybe you could help get this in place so that districts who have a lot on their shoulders to implement in their districts, when they choose to go, they've had that vetting take place. So it's a nudge, I guess you could say.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Vice Chair Dondero-Loop?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, like an insurance ad says, this is just something I know a little bit about. So reading programs are informed and founded in research. We have curriculum standards and benchmarks that we use in the State Department all the way down to the school districts. There are lots of reading programs out there, but they're not all evidence-based. They're not all differentiated instruction. They're not all research-based. One of the reasons some of them aren't research-based, even though some of us may think they're good or not, is because being a research-based program is very, very expensive. So only the largest companies can usually effectively purchase some of those things until they get off their ground and get things done. Because we focus on foundational skills when we teach reading, and by the way, there are hundreds of kids just like you, right? I mean, we get 20, I used to have 30 kids in a classroom because we get 20 kids or so in a classroom. We could have 20 kids with different foundational differences that we need to address. And those aren't all maybe the same program. Those may be, we have 2 or 3 programs in a classroom. We may have one reading program, but there may be different levels, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. But at the end of the day, every reading program needs to be evidence-based. It is great when it's research-based, differentiated, focused on those foundational skills, because that all helps us improve outcomes. I personally think we're already doing this. I personally think we have curriculum standards, as I mentioned. We also have things that we use in all schools, whether they're private, parochial, charters, or public school districts for different reasons. Things are purchased. I always like to say, it's amazing to me that everybody wants to tell all of the educators what to do and how to do it. But somehow when the policemen and the firemen come, we don't tell the plumber how to fix our plumbing. We don't tell anybody else, but we really want to tell these educators how to do everything. And so while I really appreciate the idea behind the bill, I really think that we're already doing this, and I think that we have a State Board of Education and trustees and curriculum and people in every school district that have honed in on this and are very qualified to make sure that we have academic progress in students.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Senator Cruz Crawford?
Thank you so much, Terry. I have a few questions. We're going to shift. I did have some information on our approved curriculum from the state, but I'm going to shift because I feel like Senator Loop addressed that. Couple questions I have in regard to tutoring. Is that defined as outside of school hours or during school hours?
Senator Taylor, I'm sorry, I should have asked through you to, is it okay to go direct? Thank you. Senator Cruz Crawford, for the record, Alexis Hansen, this is for in-school tutoring. And I'm glad you bring that up because, and that's what you asked, right? Would this be in-school time tutoring, not touching? This is not for for-profit companies that are obviously outside of the district. And to that point, I think my co-presenter makes the point that he had a family that was able to afford for outside of school tutoring. You had in school.
No, mine was provided for this Center Finders for the record. Mine was provided through the school, outside hours, but it was still very important for my education.
Thank you, Alexis Hansen, for the record. Thank you, Spencer, for clarifying for me. For those students that don't have a district that has perhaps high-impact tutoring standards or tutoring at all, they would have to maybe pay to go outside the district. This would, as I said, be in the district for those students.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking is because there are a lot of outside of school tutoring that we do at school. So I'm starting one, guess what, June 3rd, I'm starting a program that's paid for by the city of Las Vegas. So I want to know, is that for people that use state funding, or what if they're using an outside support system like city of Las Vegas or, another? So that's what I'm asking. I don't expect you to have the answer now, but something to think about. Also, is the tutor defined as a licensed versus a support staff member? Because there is a difference of recommendation on ratios according to the National Association of Education of Literacy. So those ratios can range from 4 to all the way up to 12 if you have a adult education program. So I would look into those ratios, because as the students get older, they do shift. 4 is the smallest number. I believe it goes to about 8 years old. And so I would hate to put us in a bucket. I know my approved RTI, which is like 30 minutes of intervention that we do, is about a 5-to-1 ratio. So to go smaller than that would be a little bit concerning. So I would just take a second look at those ratios. And those are my concerns about the bill. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cruz Crawford. I do have just a couple of questions myself, Assembly Member. Thank you for the presentation. I should have thanked you. My apologies. And thank you for bringing the bill on. My questions, it may just be one, is just regarding the NDE establishing the regulations, which is obviously spelled out in at the very beginning, Section 1. But in the body of the legislation, it seems like some of the time that the bill is defining the regulations.
Spencer Flanders, the record. I believe that was the first print, where the first reprint has that actually out there. NDE is not doing regulations anymore. It's a May for the State Board of Education.
Yeah, no, I have that. I have first reprint. It's not the May piece of it. I understand that it's permissive.
Senator Taylor, I think maybe we heard you wrong. I thought you said NDE, the Nevada Department of
Oh,
Education.
it was the State Board?
Oh, State Board of Education, just so make sure that we're talking about the same thing.
No,
Yes.
so I should clarify my question. It says the state, and thank you for that. It says the State Board may adopt the regulations, but it sounds like within like Section 1, Sub 1, Sub 2, and Sub 5, it gets pretty detailed, and it seems like regs are spelled out there. Does that make sense? So for an example, you're saying they should establish some regulations, and then these regulations should have 3 tutoring sessions for it. That is the regulation. So I'm a little, just where should that line be? It seems to do a little bit of both. Did I make that clear? Let me know if I haven't, because I'm not all clear, so.
Thank you, Senator Taylor. Alexis Hansen. Yes, you're being very clear about it. And serving on a legislative commission, this thought had come to mind as well. So we are essentially taking and putting in statute with this bill the actual guidelines of the Stanford Student Accelerator and Johns Hopkins, the standards. We are putting them in statute because we want to make sure that it rolls out as the checklist. I mean, I guess we could leave that to regulation, but we felt it imperative at this point to put it in actual statute, just so there's that outline there, that there wouldn't be anything missed because it was important to hit each of those standards.
Thank you, Assembly Member. Vice Chair?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. What was the nemesis for this particular bill? Like, what brought this bill forward?
So there are some vendors across Nevada who do not have these standards and do not have that personalized individual learning, which is so important for education. And because of the importance of this, we felt the need to bring it to the legislature.
Alexis Hansen for the record. And not wanting to throw any, vendor under the bus in a public hearing, there have been concerns from districts who've spent and have discontinued contracts where a large amount of money had been spent. And so that was one of the reasons we were asked to bring it forward.
So I totally appreciate that, but we're not in the business of hiring vendors, and we're not in the business of blackballing vendors. I get that. I worked for a vendor or two. But once again, if it's evidence-based, differentiated, focus on the foundational skills, and those things are in our curriculum. After-school tutoring is very important to children for those that need it, as well as some of the summer school pieces, which was vetoed by the governor last session. But programs that are aligned with research to better our children with reading outcomes are very important, but I will just go on the record as saying that we're not in the business of hiring vendors If we were, there would be a big fiscal note on this. And it does touch the money part because every district operates under the Department of Ed, but then independently, right? One district may use one vendor's reading program and one vendor may use another. And so with that being said, after-school tutoring such as, I don't know, after-school All-Stars, communities in schools, and other after-school programs, I think are really, really important to kids. But we're not in the business of hiring vendors.
Spencer Flanders, for the record, thank you for your comments. I think we align on maybe different issues here, but I believe Nevada students deserve the highest quality education they could possibly get. And we're not telling anyone you have to hire a vendor. This is if you are hiring a vendor, then you need to have these qualifications. There's no money involved into it until they want to have that. So we should have standards for the type of tutorer we do want to have inside of our educational system.
Thank you, and I appreciate that comment. I do think that happens, and if it has not happened with a different vendor, that was a decision made by that school district or maybe that school. Once again, we're not in the business of hiring vendors, but when you have a program, XYZ reading program during the day, a lot of times some of the after-school pieces will be going back to help students understand what they learned during the day, right? That's what tutoring is all about. So it may not even be a totally different program. It could be within the same program. And while I recognize, once again, there could be vendors out there, as with anything we do, right? We have hundreds of insurances. We have hundreds of plumbers. We have hundreds of electricians. We have hundreds. I mean, there's all kinds of companies out there you can buy from. This, I believe, is part of our standards and our curriculum that we already have, and who a school hires. This will not necessarily stop a school from hiring someone to use a program that somehow fits within this box that we want, that maybe isn't as great at teaching those foundational skills.
Spencer Flanders, for the record. Again, I don't think this is a fix-all. Obviously, this is the beginning of looking at this. But I think this is the place for you to start. When you go out and start buying something, you have a checklist list of things that you want. And the state should have a checklist. And this is what we're providing here today that is backed up by the Stanford National Student Support Accelerator. And I think that's extremely important to have those facts and statistics behind us while we do that checklist. Thank you.
Senator Taylor, if I could just add to that. So when we talk about science-based, I guess that's what encourages me about this. It is science-based. It has been shown to be 20 times more effective than standard tutoring when it came to math, and 15 times more if you're using these standards, right? We're not saying the specific curriculum. If you use these standards that we would want to put as what we call best practices. We talk a lot here about codifying best practices in a multitude of things in different hearings that we have. And then when we talk to the effectiveness, and certainly such respect in my heart always for teachers. I have family members that are teachers. Many wonderful teachers have touched my life. I'm not here to tell teachers what to do, but the difference between a plumber working on your plumbing and teachers working with our children, it's a whole different relationship. And when we look at our from the Nevada report card and we look at our statistics, we have 83% graduation rate, but we have 47% proficiency in high schoolers graduating in English language arts and 26% proficiency in math. So obviously, improvement is needed, and we're all working to try to find what are those things that need to be fixed. And in my opinion, one of the things that we could fix, particularly post-COVID, is to bring in best practices with a proven scientific track record of improving math and reading abilities for our students who need tutoring. And because our districts are really laden with a heavy lift already, we provide through statute this is the high-impact tutoring standards. So when you go to pick a vendor, it'd be a good idea to maybe make sure they hit these things that have shown scientific results. So thank you for that and for the indulgence.
Thank you, Assembly Member. I just want to circle back a little bit. First, let me say, evidence-based and best practices is absolutely what we want. Absolutely. My concern just goes back a little bit to defining that in statute. For an example, if the best practices, and no one can argue with the Stanford program, right? Let's say if it right now it's 4 pupils per tutor. What if it changes to 3 pupils? We have to come back to statute to change it, as opposed to if it's in the regs, then they can adjust, as the evidence, may show other things. Maybe it might be 6 students. I mean, who knows, right? So it's that piece of it I'm a little uncomfortable with, not saying that the prescription of what should be in place, but feels a little bit more like it should be in regs.
And Senator Taylor, thank you for bringing that up again. And to Senator Cruz Crawford's concern over the ratios, absolutely more than glad to work offline on how could we maybe make this a little more flexible if that's what's needed. How do we maybe structure the language where it's not as specific in statute, but maybe there's consideration to the regulatory process to deal with this. But I do think something needs to be outlined in statute first so that we can kind of give that mandate or request to the regulatory process. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. I just don't want our hands tied. If things change down the line and we're not in the legislative session, then we aren't going to be flexible enough, right? Nimble enough. Other questions from the committee? Thank you so much for the answers, and we appreciate that. Thank you, committee, for the questions. We'll invite you to sit back now, if you would, and then we will open the hearing to anyone in support of the Assembly Bill. In support of Assembly Bill 383, please come forward at this time. State your name for the record. You have 2 minutes. You know the routine. Oh, fantastic. Thank you in Vegas for coming forward as well. Then we'll get to the phone lines. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Nicole Flangas, Flangas, here on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards. We are here today in support of AB 383, which lends both permissive language to employ and safeguards for when school districts do employ high-impact tutoring via a vendor. One of our priorities is making sure education in our state works for every student, and this supports individualized program. We know that high-impact tutoring has a measured impact on both student performance and chronic absenteeism, and so we thank the sponsor and we urge your support of AB 383.
Thank you, Ms. Flangas. Seeing no one else here in Carson City, we will go to Las Vegas. We will start. If there's anyone else in Vegas, please come forward at this time. Otherwise, I'm not sure who's first, but please go right ahead. Make sure you state your name for the record, and then you'll have 2 minutes. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Chair Taylor, Vice Chair Dondero Loop, and members of the committee. My name is Kenya McCampbell. That's KenyaMcCampbell, and I'm a second-year doctoral student in public policy at UNLV, and I'm here today to voice my support for Assembly Bill 383. My research focuses on education, especially how we can help more Nevada students graduate. In that work, high-impact tutoring, or HIT, stands out as one of the most promising solutions. HIT isn't just regular tutoring, it's targeted small group instruction that meets at least 3 times a week and is designed to address each student's specific needs. Some HIT programs have helped students gain up to 2.5 years of math in just 1 school year. Other studies show students making academic gains of 3 to 15 months across different grade levels. Research also shows HIT can reduce chronic absenteeism because students are more motivated to come to class. HIT is structured, consistent, and individualized. For example, when Expand Ed Schools launched its HIT program in New York City, they partnered with public schools to reach over 3,000 students across 65 sites, kids who had fallen behind during the pandemic. In Washington, D.C., more than 11,000 students have accessed HIT. 2 years in, schools saw not just better attendance, but improved academic success, even after all of the setbacks of the pandemic. As a parent of 2 children in Clark County schools, one a graduate, one currently in 3rd grade, I know firsthand how important these kinds of supports are. As an engaged parent, I'm confident that HIT would make a huge difference for my own child and for so many others across Nevada. Thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson, for championing this bill, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Ms. McCampbell, and good luck on that program. Please go right ahead when you're ready.
Thank you so much, Chair Taylor and members of the Senate Committee. My name is Anahit Bakhshetsan. For the record, that is ANA, HIT, BAGH, ETSYN, and I'm a research assistant at Nevada Policy. Today, Nevada Policy comes in strong support of AB 383 because it is a critical step towards advancing the student achievement at the Silver State. At its core, this bill recognizes a simple and fundamental truth is that tutoring works, and it works for everyone, regardless of their academic background, subject area, age, or class level. With my testimony today, I would like to bring attention to other states that are doing this and that are doing this successfully. We've seen this model succeed in Connecticut, where the State Department of Education has successfully implemented a project publishing a publicly available list of vetted tutoring programs. And taking it a step further, they focused on high dosage tutoring for math scores, and those because those have been lacking since the pandemic. So in October of 2024, East Hartford Middle School administrators, for example, said that 149 students in the new intensive tutoring initiative had seen their year-over-year math scores improve nearly 4 times as much as students receiving traditional intervention. The Ohio Department of Education and Workforce has also developed an approved vendor directory of high-quality tutoring programs in core subjects such as English language arts, math, science, and social studies. These programs adhere to key components of effective tutoring, including the use of high-quality instructional materials that are aligned with their academic learning standards. North Carolina, by far, is the biggest champion in this field, with the high-impact tutoring through its NC Education Corps, which trains and places tutors in public schools. These corps members deliver one-on-one, small group tutoring several times a week, and early evaluations show meaningful progress in literacy and math scores. One of the school's principals quoted that 100% of students that are being served demonstrated growth in reading, and 10% of them have moved from below grade level at the beginning of the year to the grade level at the end. So for these reasons and for successes that have been demonstrated in other states, we urge your support on this bill as it recognizes the simple truth that tutoring works for every child.
Thank you so much. Before you leave, will you mind giving us your name again, but a little more slowly?
Yes, pardon me. Anahit Bakhshetsan. For the record, that is ANAHIT BAGHSHETSYN. Sorry, it's a long one.
Oh, that's okay. You were working in your 2 minutes. I get it. Thank you so much. Seeing no one else in Las Vegas, we will go to the phone lines. AVH, do we have a caller? And thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support of Assembly Bill 383, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support at this time.
Thank you, AVH. We'll now open the hearing for anyone in opposition. Anyone here in opposition to Assembly Bill 383? Seeing none here in Carson City and seeing none coming forward in Las Vegas. AVH will go to the phone lines.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 383, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. And now neutral testimony here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. Okay, seeing none. One more time, AVH phone lines.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 383, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll invite our Assembly member. Would you like any closing comments? No? Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for coming to present the bill. We appreciate it. This will officially close the hearing for Assembly Bill 383, and now we will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 426, revises provisions relating to the organization of large school districts, and before us we have Assembly Member Karras. Please settle in, Assembly Member, and then begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Taylor and Vice Chair Dondero Loop. I am Venice Karras, Assembly Member from District 10 in wonderful Las Vegas. I am joined on Zoom, if she's not here yet, by Rebecca Dirks Garcia, Member at Large and State Legislative Chair for the Nevada PTA. Ms. Dirks Garcia also heads the CCSD Parents Group, 18,000 members strong, and sits on 3 SOTs, chairing 2 of them. AB 426 was brought to me by Rebecca from concerns parents raised regarding input from organizational teams. We will be presenting Assembly Bill 426, which revises provisions relating to the organization of large school districts. I'll give you a little bit of a brief background. The Assembly Bill 426 builds on a strong foundation in our state for public engagement, oversight, and transparency in matters relating to education. This bill revises several provisions relating to school organizational teams, SOTs, for local school precincts, schools, in school districts with a pupil enrollment exceeding 100,000 pupils, currently Clark County School District. More specifically, this bill seeks to enhance transparency, particularly regarding school budgets and site-based decision-making. It also aims to increase family and community engagement through the SOT process. Currently, practices across schools vary, especially in terms of family and community access to SOT meetings and budget information, the election process for parent representatives to SOTs, and how budget details are shared with SOT members. Additionally, the way information is shared by schools and the school district varies, affecting the quality and consistency of the information available to SOTs for decision-making. Chair, with your permission, Rebecca will walk through the key provisions of the bill that are affected by the first reprint. I would like the committee to know the first reprint is the result of meeting with representatives from 3 key stakeholder groups: principals, teachers, and parents. Rebecca, take it away.
Thank you so much. Rebecca Dirks Garcia for the record, REBECCA DIRKS GARCIA, 3 words, no hyphen. As the Assemblywoman mentioned, the first reprint includes Section 3, which also provides all expenditures of funds generated by pupils of a local school precinct must be approved by the SOT for budget adjustments over $80,000 in an elementary school or middle school and $125,000 in a high school. The principal must notify the SOT prior to making such an adjustment and schedule a meeting of the SOT and the school associate superintendent no later than 10 days following the notice of the budget adjustment. Any budget adjustments under $80,000 in an elementary school or middle school and $125,000 in a high school may be approved upon consultation of the SOT and the school associate superintendent. Section 6. The SOT must establish a list of recommended qualifications for candidates for the school district superintendent to include in the vacancy posting for the position. The school district must then examine a list of at least 5, but not more than 10 candidates. At least 2 of the SOT must participate in the interview process. I will also now, with your permission, Chair, walk through the current conceptual amendments. Pages and lines are off the first reprint. Page 3, line 23, intent specified, not calendar days, so no weekends. So it's an adjustment of working days. Page 4, line 1 and 2, the intent is may to allow for unforeseen delays, for example, construction material, shipping, etc., and prevent confusion between calendar year, fiscal year, etc. So section 2 includes May and then fiscal year. And page 4, line 45, intent to be the same time frame as page 5, line 32. Section 3, school precinct for not less than 5 years. Going then to page 6, lines 15 through 17, the intent to provide transparency. Section 3, subsection 8 would change that language to student-generated funds, SGF, report of local school precinct presented to the organizational team monthly and published on the school website. Page 7, lines 30 to 32, intent to allow principals to participate on an SOT as a parent. So the principal to be allowed to sit on SOT of own child's school if different from where principal presides. Page 11, line 15, the intent would be to be in line with recommends on page 10, line 45. The notice must include the list of qualifications recommended by the organizational team pursuant to paragraph B, subsection 3. Page 11, lines 25 to 26. Intent to set a defined timeline frame for the final interview. So such an interview will be conducted within 10 working days notice of final interview with minimum 3-day notice to the organizational team to provide best effort that at least 2 members of the organizational team are present at the interview. And then page 11, lines 38 to 41, intent to promote greater participation and to not end up with a lopsided vote. The organizational team may reject the selection of the candidate if at least 75% of the full voting members of the organizational team are elect to do so. And I'll pass it back to you, Assemblywoman Karras.
Thank you, Rebecca. Venice Karras for the record. In closing, AB 426 provides changes to emphasize fiscal transparency, collaborative decision-making, and active public participation in the governance of educational institutions. We urge your support for this measure. We'll now take any questions.
Thank you, Assembly Member, and thank you, Ms. Dirks Garcia. We will come to the committee for questions. Okay, we will start with Senator Buck. Please go ahead. And thank you for the presentation. I forgot that.
Thank you so much for the presentation. So I'm wondering as far as consequences. So if a student achievement goes south at a school, a lot of times the principals are held responsible. And so as far as the SOT team, who else is going to step up and help take responsibility for if the school is getting a 1 or 2 star?
Rebecca, do you want to handle that one?
Sure, I can jump in. Well, I think really what this relates to, the changes are to strengthen what was already put in place. Sorry, Rebecca Dirks Garcia for the record. I think really what we have to look at is how these changes affect how the SOT is operating right now. The SOT has a role to provide advice to the principal, but the principal is the final decision maker on all these things, just like the superintendent is the final decision maker on the hiring of principals. So this allows for increased stakeholder engagement, which has been proven to be effective. Family engagement is one of the greatest metrics of success for students. We know that in education. So this helps to increase that engagement. But at the end of the day, the final accountability, nothing changes in what we've brought forward today. What does change, though, I think, is that when people are empowered with greater access to information and feel that they have a seat at the table, that increases what they're willing to step up and do and how they're willing to support the school and their children.
Thank you, Ms. Dirks Garcia. Senator, you good, Senator Butts? Okay. Madam Vice Chair, please.
Thank you very much. So I have a couple questions. First of all, just as I asked the last presenter, what was the nemesis for this bill?
So I have been participating in, Rebecca Dirks Garcia for the record. One of these days I'll get it, I promise. I have been participating in SOTs as well as different committees, including legislative and state board of education hearings and work since 2018 related to school organizational teams. I was on organizational teams before that. And this is a combination of all the different things that I've heard from not just families, but educators repeatedly over the course of that time, whether it's through survey work that's been done through Nevada PTA, as well as CCSD parents, as well as just individuals coming to me, expressing concerns, sharing those, as well as once I brought it to the Assemblywoman, other feedback that was received regarding issues that have arisen in order to help make SOTs actually fulfill the mission that was intended by the legislature.
Thank you very much. So am I understanding that you brought these concerns to the Clark County School District, for example, or Washoe County School District leadership? You actually had a conversation with them about these concerns, and you actually talked to the State Board of Education about these concerns?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia for the record. I have had a number of conversations with various superintendents, associate superintendents, assistant superintendents since 2018. In 2022, January of 2022, with the State Board of Education president, we did a survey, Nevada PTA and CCSD parents, trying to kind of restart their work on the SOTs and the reorg and that subcommittee. The challenge has been, I've worked with a number of different people at CCSD. The challenge always seems to be either it's not going to happen now, and so it gets pushed off, or that's not in the legislation, so we're not going to deal with that and address it. And so it's just been one of those things where we've continued to have some of the exact same issues, even though these conversations have been ongoing for years.
Okay, thank you very much. So what I'm hearing you say is that during the creation of this bill, when you were writing or when you were deciding on what was happening with this bill, like you had those conversations. So if you had those conversations with them during this bill, I understand your concerns, but I've, once again, done this for a long time, and not this job, but I was a parent of 3 children. I was a member of a PTA. I was a teacher, and we never, ever micromanaged the school. And I'm just going to use that word because I really, really believe that that's what's happening here. Once again, we're not trusting the professionals to do the job that they have been entrusted to do. And as parents, I can tell you, even with my children, even as an educator, I had lots of questions for principals. And I never found that when I asked those questions, or when other parents asked those questions of me or my principal that I was teaching with, I never found those to be not regarded or disregarded. So I get that that can happen. I totally appreciate the fact that everybody doesn't lead the same. And just as in your organization, everybody doesn't lead the same. But I just feel like this is very much micromanaging the school SOT process, which was brought forward in the response to really the PTA and those other groups. And so while I feel like parents are partners, I don't feel like they run the school. I feel like we have professionals that have been, that have gone to school and learned certain skills to do that. And at some point, I guess we won't need principals or teachers because everybody else can just do the job. So it gets under my skin just a little bit because I think that teachers work really hard. I think administrators work really hard. Are there a lot of people that have a lot of different personalities? Yes. But I truly believe our educators are doing what's right for kids.
Thank you,
Rebecca
Senator.
Dirk-Skirt, I don't know if that was a question or a statement, so I just wanted to clarify.
No, that's okay. If you like to respond, Assembly Member or Miss Dirks Garcia, please do. Okay, so we'll go on next
Rebecca
question.
Dirks Garcia, for the
Senator
record.
Titus, no problem. You didn't
I
have.
guess
Would you like to?
what I would just
hang
say-
on. Would you like to respond to that?
yes.
Okay, please just go ahead and state your name for the record, and then we'll continue on. Thank you.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record. I've been a CCSD parent for 19 years. I volunteer all my time related to education because I believe in the work that educators and administrators do, and I'm grateful for what they do for my kids and the success of kids across the district. But we do know that there's a lot of room for improvement. And we do know that while there's some shining examples of great success of principals who collaborate and who involve their school community and encourage participation and engagement, there are also a number of schools that aren't even fulfilling the minimum requirements that exist right now in the reorg 388G. And because certain things are not specified, there's even less consistency in how things operate. And so one of the challenges that results from that is that the community, parents especially, lack an understanding in order to be engaged, and also often lack trust in the schools and the school district. When we recently asked in CCSD parents, how people felt the budget was being used and spent. We had less than 7% of people say that they had an understanding of where that money was going. And of the ones who said absolutely yes, more than 60% of those respondents were principals. And so there's a clear disconnect happening, and the goal of this increased specificity on what needs to be shared is to help ensure that people know how the budgets are spent, that people know how to participate in the process if they want to, so that it can increase the trust and that level of accountability, that level of support that the community has for their local school.
Yes, and I agree with you 100% that there's a disconnect because first of all, I've been a student, a parent, a teacher, and now a grandparent of students. So I've lived my entire life the Clark County School District. I totally agree there's a disconnect because when I knock doors, I have parents all the time. If I say, how do you like your school? I love my school. I love my teacher. How do you think the school district is doing? Horrible. There's a total disconnect. But there's also a disconnect with SOTs. Every SOT doesn't operate maybe the way your SOT does. But I would still say that I believe that our educators and our principals are doing a good job. And is everybody perfect? Is everything perfect? No. But do I think that we need to micromanage people that have been entrusted with a job? No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Senator Titus?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank you for being a proponent for education. I appreciate that. I have some question related specifically to the bill, and just, I guess I need some clarifications. So how many precincts are there in Clark County?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record, each school is a precinct.
Okay, and how many schools would that be? Every school that has a principal would be a...
There's over 360 some currently. I apologize, I don't know the exact number currently.
Thank you. So looking at the bill itself, under Section 3, I guess it needs some clarification. It says on a 3A, you have to post the notice of the meeting not less than 3 working days before the date. Do you give written notice to the students, or is it just on, I'm looking at the actual bill, or is it just via the, reprint one, is it just via the internet or the email or the website?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record, currently it's just required to be done on the website. The change would be to ensure that the notices are going out to the parents through the current systems that are used by the school.
So there's currently no mandate for written notices to go to parents?
It's just posted on the school website. Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record, that is the challenge right now. A parent would have to proactively know that this SOT exists and know that they for the date in which that meeting should occur, and then need to know where to find that on the school website right now. Some schools do send it out, but it is not consistent.
So then the goal here is to make sure that there's some consistency and that it actually has to be some written notes, or it has to be posted somewhere other than the internet or the website?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record, correct. The goal is to ensure that just like we receive notice of all sorts of things on a daily basis, that for the budget meeting, for example, that parents would actually know what's happening rather than to have to figure out a way to keep track of the calendaring themselves.
All right, thank you. Follow up, if I might. So then under number 6, along that same idea, it says the plan of operation must remain posted on the internet website of the large school district and on the internet website of the local school precinct for not less than 5 years. What's the current practice?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record, currently, I don't believe there's a minimum year. I apologize, I'm trying to get to where you are right now. Could you repeat your
Sure,
page
it's
number and line?
It is on the actual bill on page 5, line 30. And it states the plan of operation must remain posted on the internet website of the large school district and on the internet website of the local school district for not less than 5 years. And I was wondering,
Rebecca, pardon.
yeah, I was wondering what the current regulations are and, or are there any?
Rebecca, the reason that that was changed was because there is no standardization. So some schools keep it up multiple years up, others do not. This can provide a challenge when trying to get historical information school to school.
So as it is amended or the plan of operation changes, sorry, Madam Chair, follow up with that. So again, I'm just trying to wonder where that came from and what's the current operation. If they have the plan of operation, they just leave it up until it's changed or amended? Because in my mind, the plan of operation, once it's posted, would remain there until there's a amendment or a change in the plan of operation. Do they not have to have a plan of operation posted all the time?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia. So each year, the SOT is tasked with the principal to review the school plan of operation, which includes the strategic budget and the performance improvement. And so oftentimes when the new plan is posted, in some schools, they remove the prior school years. Others, they keep it for multiple years. This would just provide consistency on that. This SOT can review parts of those throughout the year to make adjustments. And in fact, they're required to for some things, and not necessarily make adjustments, but to review it. So that would be where an amended could potentially get added.
So clarification, sorry, they would just stack each plan, if it's new or amended, it's stacked on the previous one, and the previous one has to remain there for 5 years, and then that falls off as you stack these? If there's different people coming in, have a new plan, et cetera. I'm just trying to, how do you clean all this out? You want to see the old plans then, or is it as you have a new plan, you post the new plan?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, one of the challenges in going back to find data school to school is, for example, if you're a new SOT member and you want to go back and see how decisions were made in the past, if you want to see the strategic budget from prior years, or even if it's during the school budget process, there's 2 meetings that have to occur related to the school strategic budget, a draft one in the winter and then a finalized one in the fall. It is frequently helpful for the SOT to be able to go back and reference prior year strategic budgets, to be able, just like any entity does, right? You look at historical data in order to inform current and future decision making. Oftentimes you have staff changes. In the 2 out of the 3 SOTs that I sit on, we've had principal changes in the last 2 years. So sometimes if those things aren't posted, it can be more challenging to get easy and quick access to those. The school district does have a separate website where they post some things, but it is another issue where at times that information is either not to the detail that's posted on the school strategic budget on the school's website, or it is also incomplete because the district is asking schools to self-report their minutes and agendas, for example.
You bet, Senator Titus. Senator Cruz Crawford?
Thank you, Chair. I did have a couple of things that I wanted to clarify as a school principal and a member of the SOT. I really appreciate you trying to solve a problem. Assembly member, you have some of my utmost respect. I have a lot of concerns about this bill, which I shared early on. I feel like this bill stems from a lot of not trusting principals. And one of my biggest concerns is right now, our force of principals in the state are at the all-time ever low of inexperience. And these bills do a lot of that. And it might come off as, well, why don't they want to be transparent? Well, I want to share a few of the things that are already in place that involve transparency. We already have to report twice a year our budget with our SOT and work through that. And so I feel like that is enough as a principal, because on top of building consensus and getting input from staff and talking to our staff members, we also have to teach our school. And so to do this on top of that, it really creates a burnout for principals. We feel like we're not being entrusted. Another thing is the moment we don't put up our agendas or minutes, we get a call from our supervisor secretary, and we get told to put that up right away. You can go on, at least for CCSD, the reorg website. Minutes are posted and plans of operation up to year 2021. And a few of the other things that were discussed, sorry, there were so many that I wrote down here. One of my concerns is the budget adjustment amount from 80,000 to 125,000 from secondary. That doesn't even cover a teacher FTE. So if there's a decision being made with a staff member, that would already be addressed at those 2 times a year. A lot of times we also have to protect our staff if there is something going on in that staff's life, personal issue they don't want to share. If I call an SOT together to discuss that we're losing someone, and then it basically puts a target on someone's back. So that's very concerning to me that it's under a staff member FTE. Another thing that is very difficult, it's very difficult for me to get my families involved in SOT. I have to ask my families to run, and then a lot of times they don't show up. I try to build it on top of like breakfast with books or lunch with books to get them involved, but it's very difficult. So I wonder about some of those schools that struggle to get an SOT. Another thing is you have section 3.3 that principals can't serve. So I want to clarify, I currently serve in my son's SOT. Would that mean that I would not be able to serve in that section? Because I do know that there are some parents that serve in multiple SOTs. So I just want to know if would that exclude me from being able to serve? It's kind of a moot point since my youngest is a senior, but.
Through the chair to.
Please go direct this.
Thank you. Senator Cruz Crawford, if you'll notice in the amendment, we did make the allocation that principals can serve on their children's SOT as long as it's not the same school.
Got it. Okay, that's what I wanted to
I'm sorry,
clarify.
Assembly Member, give us your name.
Oh, and I forgot. I'm so sorry. Venice Karras for the record.
Thank you so much. Senator Cruz Crawford, you have more questions?
Yes, just last part. In closing, I just want to say that I believe these things are already in place. Right now, a lot of people don't want to become principals. While I'm here, I asked my assistant principal, do you want to be a principal? And she's like, I see what you deal with. And basically what we're doing is we're pushing a lot of people out of the profession that are very qualified. People are flying administrator jobs right now. Sometimes they're getting 0, maybe 1 person applying. And a lot of it stems from this. But the last part I would say is the State Board of Education right now is already working on plans to reconvene for AB 469 for a subcommittee. And I believe we need to let them work through that work in order to really hone down on some of these challenges you're trying to address. Again, I appreciate the work you're doing. But this one is really, really hard for me, knowing how much pressure it puts on my educator colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator
Rebecca
Cruz
Dirks
Crawford.
Garcia, could I?
Would you like to? Sure, go right
Could I
ahead.
address
Quickly.
Yes, very quickly. I would just want to note, for example, some of those things that are already posted and that sort of thing. I just went and looked on reorg.ccsd.net, the website you listed, and just pulled up the closest A school near my house. And they're 3 months behind on posting their minutes and other items for those things. So those are the challenges that we're facing, not to put an undue burden, but just some of those baseline. Those things aren't actually occurring on a regular basis. And the goal is not to add or dissuade from somebody, but to just make sure that it's clear what needs to happen so that there is that participation and there is that buy-in. I would also note, just when it comes to the State Board of Education, I have been supportive of the State Board of Education intervening and working on the reorg issue for quite some time. As I said, I had discussions in January of 2022 when I was told that we're reconvening, we're going to launch this, we're going to get started, and we're going to move forward and get things moving. We're 3 years later. I have kids who, when we started with SOTs, were in elementary school. He's graduating on May 24th. every time we say somebody else is going to do it and we push it down, that means the work doesn't happen for kids who are sitting in our schools right now. And I would ask that you consider that in your decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doris Garcia. I'll have, looks like the final, actually two questions. First of all, a lot of my questions were answered, so thank you, committee, for really diving in. My only question, and this is probably due to my former school board member hat, has this been addressed at the school board level? Assembly member or Ms. Doris Garcia, are you either of you aware of that?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, the reorg.ccsd.net actually resulted from my work with the prior superintendent and a prior school board member and my asking for a central repository for people to be able to find information. There have been discussions, but the challenge remains that there has not been in my conversations a desire to act outside of the very specific wording that is provided to CCSD by the legislature.
Thank you, Ms. Doris Garcia. Any other questions, committee members? Okay, seeing none. Assembly member, we'll ask you to step back if you would. Sit back. Oh, one more question. There is an amendment that was submitted from the Nevada State Education Association, NSEA. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. My question is, I was just wondering if it was a friendly amendment, so you may want to take a look. I believe it's on Nellis. Yes, it's on Nellis, so you may want to take a look. They have a suggestion here for you, so, and then give us your feedback on that. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now we will open the hearing up for any support testimony. Any support testimony for Assembly Bill 426, please come forward at this time in Carson City. And if you're in Las Vegas and you have support testimony, please go forward to the table in front of you as well. Gentlemen, whenever you're ready, please state your name for the record. You'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Taylor and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Joe Hill, Policy Analyst for the Retail Association of Nevada. RAN has been supportive of efforts to localize site-based decisions in CCSD since the 2015 reorganization. We believe that these reforms were necessary, but also an ongoing process as we strive to make education more responsive. AB 426 represents the next step in assuring the public that education dollars are being spent wisely and with the direct line of thought to the needs of the school community and its culture. Principals play an integral role in creating a productive and progressive culture in which our students can achieve the goals set out by the legislature. That's why we are in support of the clarification language in the bill surrounding how principals are selected and approved. We have seen firsthand about the negative effects to student achievement when the local school site isn't leading that hiring process. AB 426 is a necessary piece of legislation that will help rebuild the trust that parents, teachers, and students have lost in CCSD. We urge you to support 426, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Trevor Parrish, P-A-R-R-I-S-H, with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of Assembly Bill 426 in the first reprint. Madam Chair, I'll say that the Chamber has not yet had the opportunity to review the amendment that you mentioned from the group. But however, we are in support of the proposed changes to SOTs because they will increase accountability for schools and will encourage a higher degree of trust and parental involvement by keeping the community informed. We'd like to thank the bill sponsor for bringing this forward, and we thank the committee for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Seeing no one else here in Carson City and no one coming forward in Las Vegas, AVH will go to the phone lines. Any callers in support of Assembly Bill 426?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support of Assembly Bill 426, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller, you're unmuted. Please proceed.
Oh, yes. Hi, Rebecca Colbert, calling in support of Assembly Bill 426. I'm a co-admin with Rebecca Dirks Garcia on the CCSD Parents Group, and I've spent 7 years listening to 18,000 CCSD parents talk about budget transparency, or the lack thereof, from CCSD schools. I've sat on 2 different SOTs myself, and I've been a parent in the school district for over a dozen years. And I can say, despite the best of intentions and the best of principles, the message and the information does not trickle down to where it needs to go. The formation of SOTs was dramatic, and this information should have been happening all along. AB 426 seeks to correct some of the missing links that are happening and bring every SOT up to the same standard throughout the school districts. As a parent, it would be magnificent to have a lot more standard information trickling out, both from the top of the district and at the school level. And I know from listening to parents that they are deeply in support of initiatives like this, which are not meant to punish or overburden principals, but are just meant to make it easier to engage and communicate with our children's schools. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the call. AVH, do we have another caller in support?
Chair, we have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much. And now we're open the hearing for any testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 426 here in Carson City. And I see people moving forward in Las Vegas. Thank you so much. And then we'll hit the phone lines. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Dawn Echeverry, ETCHEVERRY, President of the Nevada State Education Association. NECA supports the goals of AB 426 to improve public engagement, oversight, and transparency related to the school organization teams. In particular, we believe SOTs should have access to all relevant information to provide meaningful input on school budget decisions. However, NECA believes every member of the SOT is important, and we caution against elevating certain SOT seats over others. AB 426 does this in Section 6, subsection 4, by identifying the 2 SOT members who must be included in interviews to fill a vacant principal position. NECA supports the expanding SOT participation in the interview process, but would recommend against identifying which seats are required to participate. We submit the following amendment starting on line 23 on page 11 of the amended bill to strike, including at least one member of the elected pursuant to paragraph B of subsection 1 of NRS 388G.720 and one member elected pursuant to paragraph D of subsection 1 of NRS 388G.720. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Echeverry. Seeing no one else here in Carson City, we will go to Las Vegas. I'm not sure who's first, so please go right ahead and make sure you remember to state your name and spell your last name for the record. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Taylor, Vice Chair Dondero Loop, and members of the Senate Education Committee. My name is Dr. Katie Dockweiler, Dockweiller, and I'm the President of the State Board of Education. I speak to you today as an individual and as someone who has been involved with the reorganization of the Clark County School District, both as a state board member and as a parent on my children's school organizational team. I am not in support of AB 426. Under the reorganization law, AB 469 from 2017, the State Board of Education was given regulatory authority to support the implementation and statutory intent of the law. Since that time, we have worked with SOTs, families, district employees, and district leadership to adopt regulations relative to clarifying language, requiring mandatory training, establishing procedures relative to the selection of teachers, revising the dispute resolution process, and establishing district noncompliance procedures. As chair of the subcommittee from 2021 to 2024, I welcome this collaboration and the transparent nature of the process to enhance and support the reorganization law. AB 426 proposes changes that could have been brought to either our AB 469 subcommittee or to our state board as a whole for redress. These concerns were not brought to our attention, thus we could not address them. Essentially, the process the legislature established in 2017 was bypassed. There are aspects within this bill that are very nuanced and would best be addressed through regulation as initially intended. I ask that this committee not pass AB 426, thus allowing the regulators to continue their work. Thank you for your time and for the opportunity to speak with you all today.
Thank you, President Dockweiler. Please go right ahead. Who's next in Las Vegas?
Good afternoon, Chair Taylor, Vice Chair Dondero Loop, and members of the Senate Education Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Dr. Tricia Braxton, Braxton, and I'm an elected member of the Nevada State Board of Education. I also serve as chair of the State Board of Education AB 469 subcommittee. I come before you as an individual to respectfully share my position in opposition to AB 426, not out of disagreement with its spirit or goals, but with the approach of creating seemingly overlapping laws rather than strengthening existing ones through regulation. There are current mechanisms through AB 469 reorganization framework to improve district accountability and state and school-wide site governance. And these do include school organization team training materials, opportunities for parent, teacher, and principals input through school plan of operation, and internal processes for budget adjustments, principal selection, and stakeholder consultation. These are all outlined and updated through the Clark County School District Reorganization Portal located at reorg.ccsd.net. I recommend that greater effort be placed to ensure parents, guardians, and other stakeholders not only have access to school information, but are directly steered toward information through multiple avenues of communication. I also recommend a district-wide awareness campaign of available training materials with a post-training assessment. In addition, the newly elected and active AB 469 subcommittee of the State Board of Education is engaged and reviewing and in supporting these very systems. I respectfully support existing law instead of layering on more legislation that may unintentionally cause confusion or conflict at the school level. Together, we can ensure that education dollars are spent wisely, that school organization teams are empowered, and every student benefits from equitable and transparent governance. Thank you for your time and your continued commitment to Nevada students.
Thank you, Dr. Braxton. Please, once you've spoken in Las Vegas, you're certainly welcome to step back, and then someone else may want to come forward. Please, sir, go right ahead. State your name for the record.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Taylor, Vice Chair Dondero Loop, and members of the Senate Education Committee. My name is Jeff Horn, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees. We proudly represent more than 1,700 central office and site-based administrators within the Clark County School District, of whom 98% are active association members. I'm here today to speak in opposition of AB 426. While I have had several productive and respectful conversations with Assemblymember Karras regarding this legislation, our association remains opposed to the additional constraints and requirements proposed in this bill. These measures would further impede our principals' ability to execute their responsibilities efficiently and effectively. While we do not oppose all reforms in AB 426, the broader implications of this bill reflect a continued erosion of NRS 388G and what remains of true principal autonomy. The intent of the original law was to empower principals to lead their schools in a responsive and accountable manner while partnering with the SOT, who would serve to consult and advise on the school's plan of operation. Unfortunately, since the passage of AB 469 in 2017, the framework of 388G has become increasingly diluted, removing significant decision-making responsibilities from school principals while increasing the expectations placed upon them. For these reasons, our association opposes AB 426 as currently proposed. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. I see others in Las Vegas. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Chair Taylor. My name is Lindsay Dalley. I'll spell that Lindsey, Dalley, Dalley. And I'm from Moapa Valley, that is in the state of Nevada and within Clark County School District, okay? We're on the border. We're a remote community, about 60 miles away. I've served on 2 different SOTs for about 7 years. I currently serve on the Moapa Valley Community Education Advisory Board. I've been doing that since the 1990s. I had many opportunities to participate and work with the state board. Our Community Education Advisory Board represents all 4 of our Moapa Valley schools. I was also very involved in the legislature, the legislation creating the reorg, not as an elected official, but attended all of the meetings, met with the author of the bill numerous times. I understand its concepts and its principles, and we now have a state board that is, and a new CCSE superintendent that has great understanding and would like to see them have the room to see if the changes that have been recommended in this bill can be done through regulation. Just so that everybody knows, the reorg law has not really been stood up as fully functional. It's just been a theoretical. There's bits and pieces, but it's never really had an opportunity to be put into practice. And I've got a little allegory here. Would any one of you buy a used car and then ask the mechanic to repair the car without test driving it? And that's what I think we have going here. I share the concerns and frustrations of the bill's supporter, but until it's been stood up, I think we're premature in trying to make changes when we don't even know which part is broke. So I would be, I'd like to basically see I'm against the bill and I'd like to see it turned down.
Mr. Daly, Mr. Daly, I'm so sorry, sir. Yeah, your time is up, sir. But if you'd like to send in your comments to our committee staff, we'll make sure they are on the record and we'll get them as well.
I've said my piece. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Taylor and committee members, for an opportunity to speak. I'm Jamie Burt, Jamie Burt. I am a mother of 6, 4 CCSD graduates, and 2 currently enrolled students. I'm also vice chair of our middle school SOT. I completely agree with the State Board of Education regarding the original need for a reorg currently in process, and believe that the legislative process for Bill AB 426 is too hasty, considering the limited trial time to truly evaluate the efficiency of the reorg. At this time, I'm against Bill AB 426. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burt. Please go ahead.
Chair Taylor and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Karen Carlton, Karyn, Carlton, Carlton. I'm a mother of 6 kids in the Logandale area in Moapa Valley, part of CCSD school district, but in a very rural community. And I'm here today in opposition of AB 426. I'm much for the settlement of the bill, but feel like it doesn't solve the core problem as it sidesteps that CCSD still hasn't fully implemented the original reorganization law nearly 10 years later. Instead of reinforcing local control, it imposes even more centralized mandates on schools like ours. In rural communities, our support staff and community members are essential to our schools, but AB 426 limits who can participate, and it does not provide enough. I think it silenced some of the people who knows our schools the best. We need your help to maintain flexibility and local control in our rural community, and ask that you please oppose this bill as it's currently proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carlton. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas? Seeing none, we will go to the phone lines. AVH, do we have a caller?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 426, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jan, Jan Giles, Giles, and I proudly serve as the president of ESEA, the Education Support Employees Association, representing 8,000 education support professionals in Clark County, the largest school district in Nevada. I am speaking today to express ESEA's concern with AB 426 and how it impacts the role of support professionals in school-based operations. First, as the organization that is required per NRS 388G.720 subsection 6 to run the elections for an ESP on the school organization teams, ESEA as a stakeholder wasn't even included in this process. I just became aware of this bill last week. ESEA was overlooked as the organization that represents ESPs on the SOT. Support professionals are the backbone of schools, yet AB 426 fails to recognize this. The bill explicitly outlines roles of school governance processes, particularly the hiring of a new principal, which leaves out support professionals entirely. This is a fundamental oversight. We ask if if support professionals are required to be part of the SOT, why would they be excluded from interviews for one of the most critical leadership roles on campus? A balanced SOT should reflect the entire school community, not just licensed educators and parents. ESPs bring crucial insight. They advocate for school safety improvements as after-school programs provide value input on budgets and recommend better student support. Their exclusion undermines the intent of AB 426, which claims to promote transparency and a community voice. If there is an issue with the hiring process, maybe, as others have said, consider allowing the NDE subcommittee on AB 469 to have an opportunity to address this. We appreciate the bill's effort to improve communication and oversight, but respectfully request revisions to be made to ensure support professionals are
Thank you, Ms. Giles. Ms. Giles, Ms. Giles, Ms. Giles, I'm so sorry. Your time is up. We appreciate your call, and you can send in any comments we missed to the committee staff, and she'll make sure and get them on the record. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next caller, please.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Erica Nungary. For the record, Nungaray, and I proudly serve as a support professional in the Clark County School District. I am speaking not just for myself, but the thousands of education support professionals across Nevada whose voices are being minimized by AB 426. This bill, while well-intentioned, reinforces a troubling pattern and mandates decisions around school leadership and governance without requiring the input of the very people who keep schools running. Under AB 426, only a parent and licensed teacher are guaranteed a seat at the table when selecting a principal. Why are the support staff left out of the process? Support professionals are not bystanders in school improvement. My advocacy as a support staff member has led to tangible changes in our schools. The installation of a security gate at a middle school, electronic marquees at multiple campuses, and the implementation of communities in schools programming that directly supports at-risk students. I have pushed for equity and representation in student support systems and worked to create inclusive environments across grade levels. These improvements weren't ordered from a district office. They happened because support staff like me listened to families, observed daily needs, and acted. By excluding support staff voices, AB 426 sends the message that our contributions aren't valued in leadership decisions. It disregards the expertise of those who interact daily with students in hallways, front offices, cafeterias, and special education settings. If shared governance is truly the goal, then it must include all who support the school, not just those with teaching licenses. Additionally, many of the bill's provisions place unrealistic administrative burdens on principals, complicate budget processes without improving oversight, and slow down hiring during critical times. But perhaps the most frustrating is the missed opportunity. Instead of empowering full school teams, AB 426 narrowly defines leadership and limits the potential of school-based solutions. I urge you to amend this bill to mandate support staff representation in all key SOT processes, especially principal hiring, and to recognize our role and essential
I am
partners
so
in
sorry.
education.
I'm so
Please.
sorry. Your time is up, but we do have your comments for the record. It sounded like you were wrapping up, but we
Thank
need
you
to
for your
get to
time.
some other callers. Thank you so much. AVH, do we have another caller in opposition?
Here we have two additional callers standing by.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Brad Keating, Keating, with the Clark County School District. We respectfully oppose this bill as it continues a troubling trend, expanding the authority of school organizational teams while diminishing the ability of principals and district leaders to effectively lead schools and be held accountable for student outcomes. Shifting critical management responsibilities, such as budgeting, school improvement planning, and principal selection, to advisory bodies without corresponding accountability undermines leadership and fragments responsibility. It displaces the professional judgment of trained educational leaders and replaces it with committees that bear no formal accountability for the outcomes their decisions may affect. They proposed an amendment introduced today, which adds yet another layer of oversight, this time concerning student-generated funds. These funds have historically been managed successfully through existing policy and regulation without incident, never contemplated in the past. Here's another instance of a few individuals wanting more information in an area that is not their purview at all. Now, principals are being asked to take on additional administrative burdens, drawing them away from the work that matters most, supporting teachers and improving instruction. and instead having them become school webmasters. As the governor and the majority leader push forward legislation aimed at increasing accountability in education, I urge each of you and this community to place trust in the professional expertise of principals rather than continue reallocating operational authority to entities not trained in school leadership or responsible for student results. SOTs provide valuable community input, but they are not educational experts. If concerns exist, the appropriate avenue for addressing them is through the State Board of Education, which has the authority to establish necessary regulations. Since NRS 388G was enacted, the legislature has introduced new laws each session to modify district operations. When will we allow the district a fair opportunity to succeed without constantly moving the goalposts? For those reasons, we respectfully urge you to oppose Assembly Bill 426.
Thank you, Mr. Keating. Thank you so much. Next caller, please.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the Education Committee. For the record, my name is Ed Gonzalez. I'm the Vice Chair of the Hickey Elementary School organizational team in the northeast part of Clark County, and I'm speaking as an individual. I'm calling to oppose AB 426. I apologize. I would be there in Las Vegas in person, but after this call, we're doing principal interviews because we have a new principal coming in. But I do agree with all the comments that were said by the State Board of Education, not repeat those. But I'll highlight a couple other things. I'm opposed to parts of this bill, including the principal selection process. We just changed those laws 2 years ago. We have no idea how well they're working or not. The timelines put into the principal selection. Here at Hickey, we're a one-star school. The amount of time it took us to get good parental involvement to find out good qualities would have put us out of compliance of that strict timeline that should not be in state law, but more of a regulatory issue. And the 5 to 10 principal selections sent to teams would make teams interview every single one and add 4 to 5 hours of interviews instead of letting the school district select a few who they think is best fit for it. There's other parts about the change in the school budget at the $80,000 and $125,000. Principals could hire most support staff positions and could even do construction on dollar amounts that require school board approval without ever notifying the school organizational team. And then it has other odd things in the bill. It mandates the school associate superintendent, the principal, the boss of the principal, to attend SOT meetings without any purpose, taking them away from student achievement. And it also requires SOTs, when a principal is selected, to call a meeting to announce them, which has no business in state law and is highly inappropriate. Madam Chair, I'm more than happy to answer any questions, and I will submit my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. We appreciate the call. AVH, I understand we have another caller?
We just checked, Chair. Once again, we are in opposition testimony to Assembly Bill 426. To testify in opposition, please press star 9 now. Chair, I apologize. The caller disconnected. At this time, there are no additional callers in opposition.
Thank you so much, AVH. We'll open it up now for neutral testimony. Any neutral testimony here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? Seeing none, AVH, is there another caller? We'll just do a real quick check.
At this time, Chair, there are no additional callers on the line.
Thank you so much, AVH. We'll see if our Assembly member would like to make some closing comments. Welcome back, Assemblymember Karras.
Assemblymember Karras for the record. I started a tempest in a teapot. I just want to say that Ms. Garcia and I discussed this while everyone was in opposition. We had not seen this. This came through while I was on floor, so it's a very late amendment. It verifies a discussion, I believe. I think staff is something that we're going to consider. As far as everything else, this was by no means meant to be an attack on principals of schools at all. It's just trying to give greater transparency. As to the Board of Education, Dr. Katie, I want to say Dockweiler, right? We did have a Zoom conference, so I don't know why she's saying we never spoke. I know they're very happy about the regulation committee, but I have to say all of this opposition came in the last week. None of this was there during the assembly where it passed floor unanimously. None of these groups approached during that time other than the Principal Association and CCSD. And we went through extensive conversations, and up until last Thursday, the Principal Association was not in opposition, and up to, well, I'd have to say from the Assembly, CCSD through Brad Keating did have a few items they wanted to discuss as soon as it went through the House, because their opposition comments came very late. That is where the current amendment came from. You can see it's quite lengthy, and we gave them all but one item that they asked for, and yet they're still in opposition. So, you know, you can't help that. Some people are always going to be in opposition. But as far as the rest of the opposition, they were non-existent at the assembly point. So, and a lot of it is literally since last Thursday. We had not heard a word. So thank you for your time and efforts in listening to the bill.
Thank you, Assemblymember Karras. We appreciate you bringing the bill and your being here. Okay, we will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 426, and we are down to the last item on our agenda, and that is public comment. If you're here in Carson City or in Las Vegas and would like to make public comment, please come forward at this time. Seeing a lot of people moving, but none coming forward. So that means we don't have any here or in Las Vegas. We will go to the phone lines. AVH, do we have any callers for public comment?
Thank you, Chair. To provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no public comment callers at this time.
Thank you so much, AVH, and thank you, committee members. We appreciate your time. We will meet again here Wednesday at 1 p.m. Our meeting is adjourned.